4 dead, 13 injured in a shooting. What a way to start a video. I was watching an Isaac Brown podcast episode, not podcast, YouTube video this weekend. He is a Gen Z music producer who goes back and revisits the best of the music from the 60s and 70s to learn from it, as he says, so he can incorporate that in his own music composition and production today. It's a great premise. It is a great YouTube series to watch. In fact, I'm going to put a link of the specific episode that I watched in the comments. He was doing the episode on Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and he said he knew who Neil Young was, his solo efforts. Said he wasn't really a fan of Neil's vocals. Wasn't familiar with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and he went through some songs that he said, as he understood it, helped define who they were. The first one he did was Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. Of course, that was by Crosby, Stills, and Nash, no Young. Acoustic, harmonies. He went through a couple other songs, to be honest. I don't remember what they were. And I think the last song he did was Ohio. And he says, I don't know anything about this song. And he started listening to it. And of course, it opens with as Isaac Brown calls it, a guitar melody. And he said, oh, yeah, I really like this song. And I could see him, as he was listening to the music, look at his screen as he's learning more about the song. And at some point, he goes, what? 4 dead, 13 injured, shot by Ohio National Guard on the Kent State campus in Ohio. I never knew. And that's a paraphrase. Or I wasn't aware, but he was unaware of the event. Now, I should be shocked by the fact that one of the most iconic moments in my lifetime is not on a Gen Z's radar screen, but I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be offended. I'm not offended. I'm not offended. I don't take exception to it. It's just fact. Unawares. I started thinking about that a little bit because I'm always wondering why am I so drawn to the music from the 60s and the 70s and the 50s, a little bit of the 80s, but it's really the 60s and 70s. Why am I constantly drawn to it? Because I think there's music that I really like that are not just from that era, they are of that era. They have meaning. There's a contemporary songwriter, Mark Lee Shannon, and I've talked to him several times. And one time I asked him about his songwriting process, and he said something that stuck with me. He said the role of a songwriter is to observe and report. That has forever stuck with me. And I was thinking about Ohio. I was thinking, what are the songs? What are some songs that I think are of the era? I've got 3. One's Ohio. We'll save that for last. I think the most defining song, in my opinion, from the 1960s is a song called For What It's Worth. It's by Buffalo Springfield. It's written by Stephen Stills. My understanding is that he was commenting on an event in 1966 out in LA on the Sunset Strip. There was a club or clubs where there was a crowd of younger people that had congregated after the 10 o'clock curfew. And for whatever reason, the LA Police Department didn't want it. It wanted nothing to do with it. And they went to break it up and they overreacted. It's my understanding they overreacted. Now, I promise when I do these videos that I don't script them. I put together an outline, but I don't script them. And I'm not going to edit it. But I'm going to I'm going to ask for a little bit of forgiveness because I want to make sure I get these lyrics down correctly. So I've got them right here to make sure I got them right. Okay, here we go. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. Then there's Abraham, Martin, and John. This came out in 68. Dion was the artist. It was after Robert F. Kennedy, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. That was after Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Of course, that was after President John F. Kennedy had been assassinated, which of course was after Abraham Lincoln had been assassinated. And it was a commentary on those events. Now, my grandkids may think I was old enough to be around when Abe Lincoln was assassinated, but I don't recall it. But here's what I do recall. Like you, I know exactly where I was. I mean, I can tell you exactly where I was when I heard of John F. Kennedy, when I heard of Martin Luther King, and when I heard of RFK. And every time I hear that song, I'm reminded of those moments. And there are times I'm an adult, tears will, sometimes I'll get tears. What a powerful commentary that song makes and the memories that it evokes. And now we move on to Ohio. I record this video about an hour away from Kent, Ohio, where that shooting took place. And by happenstance, over the last 2 months or so, I had a chance to, I got to close out of an application here. I apologize. I Let me do that now. I told you this was going to be unedited. It's unedited. Here we go. I had a chance to talk to two individuals that were on campus. They were students on the Kent State campus when those shootings took place. One arrived in the area immediately after the shooting. Immediately after the shooting. I asked her about it, and I would say her memory was vivid. Her reaction was livid. She's still bitter to this day. And if she had shared, it has forever shaped every aspect of how she views pretty much everything. Those lyrics, again, I'm gonna cheat a little bit from Ohio because I want to make sure I get them right. Got to get down to it. Soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been gone long ago. What if you knew her and found her dead on the ground? Now, as I understand it, Neil, that incident took place, I think, May 4th. Someone's going to correct me if I don't have that right. First weekend in May on the Kent State campus. On May the 15th, Neil Young saw the photo, the iconic photo of the student on her knees like this. He saw that on May 15th and was inspired to write the song, which he did. They went into the recording studio on May the 21st. The single was released 2 weeks later. And by the time they got into July, really just 2 months after the event, it was already moving up the charts as it was a song that connected. because of the power of its commentary. Now, I really like the golden age of music in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 80s. I do. And it's not just about the music, and it's not just about the memories. It's about what inspired the music, the commentaries on those times that I find so powerful about those songs. And I only named three. I'd like to hear yours. What are the songs from the 60s, 70s? You want to get into the 80s? There's no time limit here. What are the songs that you know that are important to you, that are commentaries of the events of their day? I'm Phil Yale. This is unedited. This is unfiltered. And I hope you will join me again.